The most thrilling, spine-tingling series ever.
From the pages of R.L. Stine's best-selling books,
And the screams go on forever and ever.
We now return to Goosebumps.
Greetings, Goosebumps fans, young and old, big and small, living, dead, and undead. Welcome back to the Goosebumps Crew Podcast. As always, I am your host, Isaiah Vargas. I'm joined by my good buddies Bjorn Palnick and Nick Shaw. We are the Goosebumps Crew, and we're back to talk some Goosebumps. If this is your first time joining us here on the podcast, I want to sincerely welcome you all, as always. If you are or have ever been a fan of the popular Goosebumps series of books or the monster franchise those books spawned, I have a feeling this podcast can be right up your alley. Because I always say, me, Bjorn, and Nick are some of the biggest Goosebumps nerds on the entire planet. We could talk about Goosebumps for hours on end, and that's exactly what we do here on this podcast. Every week we have a brand new episode talking about everything Goosebumps, whether it be the books, TV shows, movies, video games, merchandise, whatever it is. If it has Goosebumps in the name, we're going to talk about it so much that we're going to give you goosebumps. So, with all that said, if you end up liking today's episode, make sure you like and comment. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that bell notification so you can get notifications when new episodes go up every Wednesday at noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. But if, however, you are just dying to get those episodes early, trust me, I know that feeling. But you can catch the audio-only versions a day early over on our audio platforms. You can stream Goosebumps Crew over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you can follow the Goosebumps Crew on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook, among others. You can also follow Bjorn and Nick at Goosebumps, Aussie Fan, and Shawn, respectively, on their social medias and their YouTubes. All those links are in the description below, so check them out. Join the Goosebumps Crew today, become a crew member, and we appreciate you in advance for your support. Well, Goosebumps fans, it is officially the beginning of summer. That means the weather is getting hotter, the days are getting longer, the nights are getting shorter, and it's the greatest time to go outside and spend a little bit of time out in nature, in the fresh air. Or you can sit inside and read some Goosebumps books, like I did when I was a young buck during the summer. Goosebumps, I mean, it was always a tradition during the summertime to crack open a Goosebumps book and read it, whether outside or inside. I remember there were many nights where I would just kind of like sit on my front porch with the sunset and just be reading like Living Dummy 2 or something like that. I remember that so vividly.
Living Dummy 2.
But Goosebumps and summer go together pretty well because usually most Goosebumps books, funny enough, take place in the summer. So, like, it'll be a summer trip somewhere, or the protagonist will be going to live with a weird relative for the summer, or something like that. But if there's one consistency in the summer Goosebumps books, it's camp. Yeah, that's right. Going to summer camp. I mean, usually when you think about, you know, an environment for the summertime, you probably think of a summer camp when it comes to children's stories. So Goosebumps has done a ton of camp stories. And what better way to ring in the summer season than by ranking...
I think a bug.
Yeah, the bugs. I mean, you could probably think of mosquitoes. I think of mosquitoes. They like my blood.
Sucking
Bastards.
Yeah, I like my blood.
Like my blood. So I felt what better way to ring in the season of summer than by having us rank the Goosebumps Camp books. And there are a good handful of these. We have 8 books that we're going to be ranking today. 4 from the original series, 2 from Series 2000, 1 from Give Yourself Goosebumps, and 1 from Horrorland. So we got 8 books we're going to go through. As always, we rank these individually, give our thoughts on them.
Heavyweights is my favorite.
Well, I am I am certain that we may have both the same favorite and the same least favorite, though I could be wrong. But usually the top and
Yeah.
bottom choices are pretty unanimous from what I see
I
in
think
terms
my
of,
favorite will be different.
well, let's see.
Maybe.
But
I
of
mean,
course, must preface this. This is only our opinion. If you like or dislike any of these books, you don't agree with our rankings, you have your own rankings. That's totally fine. Everyone has their own opinions. And let us know in the comments below what you think. Where do you rank these 8 books in terms of best to worst? Because, we always are curious to see, maybe our bottom pick is someone's top pick. You never know.
someone might think Camp Slither's their
Sure.
favorite.
Yeah, maybe
I don't
someone thinks
care.
that.
If that's your favorite.
But, yeah.
I saw a
Or that
ranking
creature
recently.
teacher book that we ended up leaving out.
I
Maybe
saw a
that's your
tier
favorite,
list
but sorry, I have not
recently
read it.
where someone had Go Eat Worms at the top of their tier list. I saw
I've seen
recently
somebody.
on YouTube. I was like, "This is what I mean."
Well, it's like I told you guys the other day. Like
War.
there's some people in the Goosebumps Facebook group that we're in that their favorite book is the one we all crap on all the time. I'm not gonna say it because I don't want to start nothing. I'm just saying it's just like
Go
who
Eat
knew?
Worms, man. Maybe people just do it because they just want to annoy the hardcore. I don't know.
You think
Maybe they just
you
Well,
think
like,
that's it?
it's
You
just
think
one of
it's
those
wanna
things
be
like
different.
you remember liking it as a kid, but now as an adult, where your tastes change and your mind has developed a bit
and you
more
become cynical
to
and
understand that it's not as good maybe
and
as you
all that
remember it being.
stuff.
It's kind of like movies. When I watch a movie I hadn't seen in such a long time, like Austin Powers, like I loved it when they all came out, but I tried rewatching them years ago. It's a little rough. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little rough.
I like
Uh,
two's my favorite.
Yeah.
I think two's my favorite. But then again,
it's rough.
I think one is more subtle funny. One is like, it's funny, and it's not like they were
Yeah.
trying so hard to be funny. Three is just rough for me. Goldmember's rough.
Well,
See, out of the three, I'll say, and maybe this is the case with a lot of the books, but like because it was later in the series, the Austin Powers 3 Gold Member, I think held up a little better just because, again, years had passed since that first one. So it helped
Yeah.
a little bit probably in this scheme of the comedy. But, oh man, I'm just saying it's rough. So maybe that's how they picture those books, like in
They're
that
not so different.
rose goggles. You know what I'm saying? Like those
Well,
rose goggles.
Remember
everyone's
when I told
entitled.
you, Austin? We're not so
Everyone-
different, you and I.
Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, so that's basically the point, is that if you agree or disagree with our list today, totally
Look.
fine. In fact, we'd like to hear from you. Please let us know in the comments below.
Mike Myers, your best film is Shrek. Saying it.
Anyway,
Aren't you
let's kick
Shrek?
things off.
Shrek.
I'm going to start with my bottom pick, my number 8 in this ranking. Now, again, I don't know if
Camp
this
Jellyjam,
is...
I guarantee it.
it's Camp Jellyjam. No, it's actually I don't know if this is again, I'm assuming this may be unanimous between the three of us. I could be wrong, but for me personally, my number 8 is going to be Fright Camp from Series 2000. Now, the reason I don't even think, here's the thing. This is the quote unquote worst in this ranking, but I don't think this book is really that bad. I think it's more mediocre. It's got its moments. It's got a decent enough premise. The thing that kills this story for me personally is that it feels like it blue balls you like at multiple different occasions because spoiler alert, there is nothing supernatural in this book. Not one thing. This cover's not even not even technically related to the camp. Basically what it is, it's sort of like if you mixed Camp Nightmare with Shocker on Shock Street. It's basically the whole thing is that it's a camp that these kids go to and there's a bunch of creepy stuff, scary stuff happening. But oh no, none of it's real. It's just an elaborate movie set, and they're being fooled into thinking it's all real by this movie director that runs the camp, R.B. Faraday, which is basically, I'm assuming it's a takeoff of R.L. Stine. But the thing about it is just that there's no, like, you have to tell a story. And constantly being like set up only to just say, "Oh, just kidding, it was all fake." Like it's
Yeah.
one thing for like at the end, but it happens multiple times where it's just revealed to be fake. It's revealed to be a big movie set, and honestly, it makes RB a super shitty person because he's putting these kids through like super dangerous stunts and all that stuff with them not knowing that it's fake.
Yeah.
To a point where you're just kind of like, how has this not been like been investigated? Like, how is like how is this like not being investigated by the government for endangering children? Something like that. It's
Yeah.
just again, it's a blue ball book. It just kind of feels like your time is being wasted by the time you finish it. And there's nothing wrong with doing a story with no supernatural elements. The book that came after this one, Are You Terrified Yet? I feel it does it better. I don't think it's perfect, but it does that concept better. But this one, it's not terrible, but I don't think you're going to get a lot out of it. I feel like by the end, you're probably going to be maybe a little miffed that it all kind of seems like it was a waste. So that's why it lands on number 8 for me. It's not a terrible book, but of this ranking, it is the worst. So that's my number 8.
Yeah. Hmm.
Bjorn, you're next.
Me? Well, my least favorite camp book, and you guys can probably all agree why.
What is
I
it?
live in Australia, and there's something here that I don't like.
Oh,
Freak me out. It
Monster
freaked
Boat
me
2?
out.
I'm just kidding. Cuddles.
What's the book called?
I don't know. Is it called
Is it
Return to
something
Ghost
about
Camp?
Return to Ghost Camp?
Welcome to Camp Slither is my
Oh.
least favorite because it's not that it's bad. Like, here's the thing with the camp books. Like you said, Isaiah, I think they're all good. Like, I can read all of them and enjoy them all. Like, even the ones that are not as great, like Fright Camp. But I still enjoy them. Like, I have a love for them, but I don't like snakes. And yeah, that's it. I don't like snakes. I will admit, the last time I read
Pretty
this book
simple.
was probably when it came out. What year was this book? Like 2010 or something?
It was
I
like 09, 2010,
like
something like
09 or
that.
10, yeah, around there. And I haven't read it since then, but I remember not enjoying it because I don't like snakes. So, because I hate snakes living in Australia. I like spiders, but I don't like snakes. If this book was about spiders, welcome to Camp Crawl. I don't know. I don't think
Arachnid.
what could they have called it if it was a spider camp book?
Honestly, Camp Crawl is
Camp
not that
Arachnid.
bad.
Camp Crawl or Camp Crawl, something
Camp
like that.
Arachnid.
I probably would have enjoyed it more, but I don't really remember the book as per se, but I just remember not enjoying it because I just hate snakes, and I remember when I was reading it, I was like looking under my bed and making sure there was nothing lurking around a corner because there are snakes in like out of every roof in Australia, 3 in 5 roofs has a snake in it.
That's
There's
gross.
probably one in my roof, and yeah, I don't like snakes, so that's at the bottom of my list.
Somebody I know can never go to Australia then because they would hate it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the concept and everything, but I just I don't know, I just you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I
mean,
get it.
man eating snakes, because obviously this book is about like legends of man eating snakes, and then they investigate or whatever. But I just, and especially when it's man eating snakes, like no, just no, not a fan.
Anacondas.
Anacondas,
Yeah.
yeah.
Funny enough, I like that movie Anaconda though. That's a classic. I mean, you can forget J Lo in that movie.
Jeez.
True story. Okay.
Hey, you got a little
Fair.
nod there. I can
That's
forget.
Hey.
And Owen Wilson having that really, really funny death in that movie. But
Yeah, I remember that.
snake.
That I
I'll
remember.
pick a snake, but
That is sad.
that's probably my least favorite one to be completely honest. So
Makes sense.
yeah.
Nick, what do you got?
Well, I think we all had a different bottom one then because mine is actually Return to Ghost Camp. It was okay.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh, that
Yeah.
could have been bottom. Like yeah, good.
I don't know. Like I feel like my bottom 3 maybe could switch out every now and again.
Yeah.
Because I mean, well, again, like it's kind of like we said, they're decent reads. It's just like something in it just
Yeah.
like I don't know, Stein missed the mark on some of these, whether it was the ending or just one or two key details in a story that really could have been changed. It would have made it better. But yeah, I don't know, something about that one, like I don't know, like it had a really good setup. The Legend of the Snatcher, and it goes takes one camper every year, but I don't know that it just kind of fell flat. Like I don't know. This wasn't for me, I guess. I mean, but I like the synopsis, and I thought it would have made like a good movie. And I was,
Yeah.
but if they change certain things,
It's disappointing compared to like
it's
Ghost
kind of like
Camp.
Quantum Mass too. Like if the changes that were made it infinitely better. Now, if they could do the same treatment to this story, because it has a really good like story setup and synopsis, it's just like again, like the journey getting there wasn't very good.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah,
If that
it's
makes
a
sense.
real downfall when Ghost Camp is such a good one, and then you get that.
Right, exactly.
It's like,
Ghost Camp is
well,
higher
what
up on my list,
happened?
so yeah, Ghost Camp's higher up on my list, so I'm like, this one should have been up there too, but it actually, like I said, could be swapped out between the
Oh,
bottom
Yeah,
three, probably.
I
yeah.
guess you guys proved me wrong. We didn't have the same bottom one.
No, no. I
Yeah,
only
no,
had I have a reason for my bottom one though. Okay,
Yeah.
reason for my bottom
Mike's.
one.
Well,
Snakes, mate. I'm not
uh,
Steve
Thanks,
Irwin.
Mike.
Okay.
well, for my
I see
moving
a
on to number
big
7, for my number
Liz
7
Sheila.
is actually Welcome to Camp Slither. Now,
Hey, it's close.
for me, like I said, Welcome to Camp Slither is also, I wouldn't say it's the one's mediocre. It's just kind of mid. Uh, I thought it was okay enough. It had a decent concept. Um, it doesn't do anything egregious or bad that I think is
Mm,
worth of ridicule or anything. It's just one of those that's like in one ear and out the other. It's not doing anything particularly interesting. It's kind of retreading some of the previous camp books, except the whole gimmick is snakes. There's snakes everywhere.
literally. So
Um,
no, thank you. No,
Gotta
thank
have
you.
a whole thing with like experimentation and like science experiment gone wrong and that sort of thing. But that's the thing. It's just it's not doing anything that interesting. It's not doing anything bad, but it's not doing anything that great. So literally, that's literally my reasoning. It's just a completely middle of the road story. If you want to
Mm,
check it out, go right ahead. I don't even think this one has a particular like impact on the Horrorland arc as a whole. Like, I don't think
yeah.
this one really comes into play as much as some of the other ones. But in terms of a book, it's a completely passable story. So it lands at my number 7 for me. The reason I put this above Fright Camp is because Fright Camp does things that actually kind of, make me a little upset, a little frustrated. This one, not really, but it's not one I'm going to particularly go back and read because I just need to read it again. So, Welcome
Yeah.
to Camp Slither lands at my number 7.
Mm. Well, Nick kind of already covered this one, but yeah. My number seven is Return to Ghost Camp.
Really?
I love the
Yeah.
cover.
I mean, you kind of already said everything I wanted to say, but I guess the only thing I'll add is that I don't know. I didn't get the same feeling that I did with Ghost Camp because Ghost Camp was like creepy, like genuinely scary. This one, I didn't feel that at all. Um, while read, like, you know what I mean? Love the cover. I think it's a great cover, but then you read the book and it's just like, well, no, like it's just, I just think it's such a terrible follow up. It's kind of like Say Cheese and Die again. It's
Oh
just really
God,
bad.
no. I'll
You
tell
know what
I'll
I
tell you
mean?
right now, I will not go.
I don't think it's that bad.
No.
It's not as bad as Say Cheese and Die again, but like, when I compare it to Ghost Camp, like
Oh, I see. I see.
it's like, it's just, I don't know. I've read it twice, maybe. And I think, well, that's the thing. I went through all the Series 2000 books again recently, so I did read it again. And yeah, it just, to me, it doesn't give me that same creepy feeling as as Ghost Camp. You know, it's
Say
just
cheese and die
I don't
again.
know, lame.
I think
I
say
don't know.
cheese and die
The
again.
snatching thing and all that, I love that, but yeah, no,
I think say
it's
cheese
my
and
number.
die again. I think it kills angels. So
Yeah,
definitely not on the same magnitude.
Angels cry.
Um, yeah, it's
you
like
sounded like a
that
Holy Diamond.
Wonderful
What was
Life,
that?
or
Angels
instead of
cry.
every time somebody reads Say Cheese and Die Again,
Oh
a poor soul gets condemned to hell.
gosh, Ghost Camp is just like so bad. Return to Ghost Camp is so terrible.
Oh,
Gosh, why would you even read that?
Snatch is so stupid. Oh,
Snatching idea is stupid. Stupid campfire and the snatching in the wind is so bad.
Napoleon Dynamite. I'm surprised with that you guys have Return to Ghost Camp so low, and I'll
Return to Ghost Camp, yeah, because it's like compared to Ghost Camp, it's just like so disappointing. So for me, it's like
maybe that's why I threw it
love
down there.
Ghost
But I
Camp.
don't know. Like I said, I don't know. Just like I said, it had a really good premise. It just didn't stick the landing.
Not
But
compared to
that's
its
where my
it's like a
that's where my
bad
next one
sequel.
comes in, which we've already all said. It's Camp Slither. So that one we at least have. Like I said, the bottom three can be kind of rotated out. Again, kind of a neat concept, I guess. But I don't know what it is with Stein and lotion and making you something else. Like it just makes me think of My Harriest Adventure. You know what I mean? It's like, what was it with lotion? Harry Larry, and now I'm like,
Harry Larry,
scale
King of the Wimps.
Scaly Laley. I don't know. Like it was okay. We've already said what we can say about it pretty much. It's kind of middle of the road ish. Maybe this is where the parents from Girl Who Cried Monster came from. You know, they were
you
kind
think
of
they were like part
ish.
of that experiment with the
Maybe they were part of that experiment. You know,
it's almost like were snakes too. Like I feel like I distinctly remember it was like they're human by day, but they become snakes at night, and they're trying to find like a cure because they were trying to find like a cure for like snake venom or something like that. I don't even remember. It was kind of gobbledygook. Um,
yeah, I don't remember that. Well, I probably would if I
It
had read
was a
it
cure for
in
snake venom.
somewhat recent time. But
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
It's
moving on to
middle
my
of the
number
road.
six. And maybe it's a little unfair to throw a Give Yourself in here, but because it's purely camp themed, I felt it was necessary. But my number six is going to be Escape from Camp, Run for Your Life from Give Yourself Goosebumps. Now, obviously, it's since this is a game book, you can't necessarily judge it on the same merits as a regular Goosebumps book. But for me, this book basically boils down into two different plots. One is sort of like a Walking Dead-esque, like nature hike with zombies, and then the other one is
Mm.
sort of like kind of like a phantasm-esque camp story. Um, both are, I would say, the latter of which is more interesting. I actually find myself kind of not thinking the zombie stuff was that, interesting to read about. It surprisingly, because I love zombie stuff. But
Yeah.
I mean, they're both kind of uninteresting overall plots. Um, I put this over Camp Slither because I do get some enjoyment out of surprisingly when you die. The endings where you die are actually kind of more better than the ones
But
where
you
you
don't
like.
die in Goosebump books.
No, you can
They're
die
all
and give
safe.
yourself goosebumps. But the endings where you die are like somehow more entertaining than the endings where you like get away or you don't die or something like that. So there is entertainment value. I don't think, many of these give yourself books are going to have at least that going for it. I just wish the plots were a little more interesting,
Yeah.
that make you want to read more and make you want to go through every ending. Um, Aside from the sick cover, it's another one that's just kind of middle of the road for
Hey,
me.
it's a good cover.
It's a great
Knocked it
cover.
out.
I love the cover, but in terms of the
the cover.
story, it has a little bit to be desired. So it's kind of on the same level of Camp Slither, but I decided to throw this in sixth place because it does have that little bit of
Marginally
enjoyment
higher.
value out of it. Escape from Camp,
Marginally.
marginally. So Escape from Camp, Run for Your Life is my number six.
My number six is Fright Camp. Now, I there's a reason why I like this book though, and it's because obviously they go to a camp that's based on like horror films, like a horror film director's films, and they play it out. So I like that idea. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's kind of like I'm trying to think of an example. Oh, my example is a Simpsons example. It's like when they go to rock and roll camp,
Yeah.
and like Mick Jagger's like the host,
Hmm.
and I think it's a cool idea, of them going to a camp that's based on a director's like horror films. Like, come on. We would all love to do that. If that was a real camp, we'd go, right? I like the
I
idea, but
did
yeah,
something similar ish. And you can do these kind of things actually. It's not a camp per
yeah.
se, but if you're a horror fan out there, definitely look up certain events. Like I know for a fact that like you can stay overnight at the actual location for Camp Crystal Lake,
Hmm.
in the cabin and everything like that. There is that, and they do like a whole night setup thing, and they take you on the tour, walking around, and I think there's like photo ops and a bunch of other stuff too. It's really cool. The one I did though, because it's funny enough not too far from me, I found out is where they shot the horror film Strangers Pray at Night,
Hmm.
Ah,
and
yeah.
I got to spend the entire day, and I could have stayed the night too, but I did not have a
You were too
tent
scared.
with an air conditioner in it. No, I need an air conditioner. Okay, I'm a bougie camper nowadays. I'm old. All right, so it's cool though. Like I got to spend the whole day with the main three killers from the movie,
Yeah.
um, and hang out with them and swim in the pool that was in the movie where
Mm.
one of the famous death scenes happened and all this other stuff. So there's similar things out there, kind of like that, and you get to walk with the cast of killers that and go through and do
That's cool.
Photoshop, little photo ops with them and things. It's pretty cool.
So you mean
So in real life, you can kind of do stuff like that in a way.
like you could stay at the cabin where Kevin Bacon was like killed with that hook thing
Yes.
through his neck?
Yep.
Could literally stay that at Camp Crystal. That's cool.
You can
Um,
stay at Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah,
that's
I've heard
cool.
of
I'd be
that.
I
like,
think it's in
which
I
cabin
think it's
did
in like
Kevin
New
Bacon
Jersey.
die? And I'd be like, I'm staying in that cabin. I want to I want to sleep in the same bed. That sounded weird. But
I want to sleep in
It's
the same bed with Kevin Bacon.
it's called
Kevin
for
Bacon.
those who are actually curious, it's called Camp Nobi Bosco. It's a Boy Scout camp located in Hardwick, New Jersey, and that's where a
It is New Jersey.
majority of the
Okay.
first movie was filmed. So that's the real Camp Crystal Lake there.
That's cool.
But they give tours and stuff like that there. So it's
Hey, you can stay at Hobbiton.
Really cool
You can
experience.
stay in
Like
the little
there's a
Hobbit
YouTuber I
cabins.
watch who did that overnight stay and filmed the whole thing, and it looked so cool.
That's
It's definitely
sick.
not like super cheap, but you do get like the whole camp experience, though. You know what I mean? So it's pretty awesome,
Mhm.
and you
That's
do get like I think some swag and things like that too included. So
It's like if you go to
definitely
New
worth.
Zealand, where do you go and visit? You go to Hobbiton. You go stay with the hobbits. That's what
Well,
you do.
and the thing is too about Fright Camp, and it is a great concept because going to a camp that's themed after horror movies, it is a great
Yeah,
concept. Like I said, it's a
I love it.
mixture of
Yeah.
Camp Nightmare and Shocker on Shock Street, which could be really good.
Literally, it is actually when you think
Hmm.
about it. It's just I think the execution was a bit,
Well,
a lot to
again,
be desired.
it's
Yeah, I
because they
love the
just
idea of the book.
it's because they just blue ball you. Like one time, like if one time you were just kind of like, oh, everything's fake, ha ha ha, that'd be cool. Oh, that's awesome. But
Yeah, so that
but
was one that we took where they got all in their masks and stuff. But the one I took, and they ask about like what pose you want to do in the pool. And do you guys remember that meme of the little girl kind of like running and looking back? So
Oh
I
yeah, yeah,
opted.
yeah.
You will maybe
That's
when you see
that.
it.
Yeah.
So I
that's
opted for
awesome.
that with the masked man killer, and it just says, "Run, bitch, run, just frickin' run." But
That's
yeah, no,
awesome.
it was a good time though.
Man,
They are really nice people, and it was such a really cool event. And I didn't realize not the whole film was filmed in a state park. Obviously, they had like sets and stuff too, but this was filmed at a state park in Kentucky, which isn't too far from me. So this was a really fun event, and it was a whole day of stuff. And it was hot as hell, so I was very happy that we got to go in the pool. But the whole experience was amazing. So to do more like that, I don't know if you guys have that in Australia, because obviously Australia has camps too, don't they? I mean, I would think, even though
Oh
like
yeah,
your camps have got to be more dangerous than anything else in the United States as
but
a whole, just because everything tries to kill you there.
when people come to Australia, though, they just want to go to Australia Zoo. That's it. I want to go to Steve Irwin's Park. That's like the main thing that you got to do as a tourist when you're here. It's like, so if you guys are tourists,
100%.
you got to go to Steve Irwin's Park. I mean, you can also meet the guy that met Andy Griffith. You should know that reference.
Andy Griffith.
Meet the guy that met Andy Griffith, and they're like, the murderer. Oh my gosh! What is it, Peck? This is the man, Andy Griffith. You just killed
Oh my
him.
God.
Yeah, he's the killer. Yeah, he's the killer. Yes, but he's also the man who met Andy Griffith.
Andy Griffith. Oh man, but just watch. As you can tell, just watch that episode, sir.
I love that episode.
That's so good.
Love that
All right,
episode.
we're talking married with children now.
Yeah.
Topic.
So,
Well, you know, it's a Goosebumps podcast, but if you've been watching us this long, you know we can talk about other things, get off track, but because we love Goosebumps, but we love a lot of other
they
things
call this
too.
the derailed podcast.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
We love this guy too.
But
So it's all good.
no, basically, my issue is just it blue balls you. Like, there's one thing if it's like, okay, maybe one fake out, but it never seems like it really gets going. It just kind of halts everything. When it starts to get interesting, it's just kind of like pulls the rug out from under you. So it's like, don't do that. Tell a story. Be scary. Like,
The Simpsons did it better with Rock and Roll Camp. Okay.
Simpsons did it.
Simpsons did it better. And I love the opening line when Mick Jagger comes in. He's like, "Welcome to Rock and Roll Camp. Now the first rule of Rock and Roll Camp is we're all going to get totally wasted, but just enough to not kill yourself." I'm like, Jesus. Because obviously back then they were drinking so much.
He follows his own rule. He follows his own rules in real life.
Well, moving on, Nick, what do you got for your number 6?
Number 6.
Again, we've all said it, and it goes right into that wheelhouse if you could swap any of these last 3 out. Right, Camp.
Yeah.
We've already talked about it to death. I mean, really, it's Fright Camp. For many of the same reasons we've all said. Like, I love the concept, but again, it's much like the other 2 I've mentioned in my bottom 3. It's just, it fell short, whether it was building the story to the climax only to, as you said, get blue-balled, or, you know, it was not the ending you expected, I guess, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, yeah, okay, well, could have been better.
Well, for Series 2000, where Stein was starting to get a lot more extreme in his approach to writing, like you would hope that there was a little more like of a better twist to it all, and it just kind of felt like there was nothing really that interesting at the end. So again, it felt like you wasted your time by the time you got to the last page.
Yeah. Sorry, Tim, but your raccoon illustration couldn't really save the.
Well, doesn't even happen in the book. So
it's a raccoon, right?
I was gonna say,
the raccoon.
I don't know what they gave him as far as like what to do for the cover, because as we talked to Tim and Mark and Craig, they all said the same thing: is you get a short little
raccoon.
2-sentence thing saying, "Here's this, make a cover for it."
I still love the cover, but like,
I mean, the cover's cool,
save the
but
story.
it's not. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the book itself, other than I guess there might have been a raccoon at camp.
Yeah, who knows?
I can't remember. Was there a raccoon in the trash? Guys, comment down below. I do not remember.
I mean, maybe that raccoon put some lotion on. It was probably a kid before.
That's Harry Larry's like cousin or something like that. You're gonna find out.
Maybe there's like an Instatan right next to it in the bin, but I don't know.
Well, my number 5, moving on to number 5, is actually Return to Ghost Camp. And I like this one more than you guys do, actually. Now, as a follow-up, honestly, I don't even think this needed to be a follow-up to Ghost Camp because it doesn't even follow the same. It doesn't follow the same characters. It's not the same camp. It's virtually a different story. So the fact that it's kind of set up as a sequel was kind of a disappointment. But that aside, I don't think this is as good, not nearly as good as Ghost Camp is. But I actually think it's okay. I do like that while it's not as scary, there is sort of an escalation in the like the pranks that the ghost kids pull. I remember there was like someone that got like used for target practice in like broad daylight.
Yeah.
There's another kid who like sticks their head into a campfire or something like that. So it's like it's getting extreme. It's what Series 2000 did. And even sort of like the mystery behind the Snatcher gives it a little more of like an urban legend feel. And even then, like having an antagonist that's purely evil, there's no sympathy, because even the ghosts in Ghost Camp are villains, but they're kind of sympathetic because, you know, they're kids that were killed, and they weren't even killed by like anything malicious. It was kind of like a black fog, but it has no like feelings or anything like that. The Snatcher is just
Black
a child
Fog came in
murderer.
and like
Yeah,
swept them
the
sort
Snatcher's
of
just
thing,
a
yeah.
child murderer. It's just a monster that murders children. So it goes for that sort of urban legend feel that you would probably expect from like a ghost story at a camp and something like that. I feel it is bogged down a lot by its characters, though. I don't think the main character is nearly as interesting as the ones in Ghost Camp. I think the supporting characters are not as good either. I think Ari's kind of a big piece of shit. Because
Three.
yeah, it's just it's not as interesting. It's not as well, you know, like well put together as the first one. Um, some good scares, some good you know, gory-esque imagery,
Head
you
and
know, for kids,
file.
of course. Um, so it lands right in the middle. I think this is a good book personally, but it's not a great book, and it lands at
Yeah.
my number 5.
But dude, that cover art is so malicious. Like
Oh no, this
it's
cover, if this is
creepy.
what the Snatcher looks like, I mean, I would be terrified.
It's a terrifying cover. I always thought that as a kid, like looking at that one. I used to be like, "Huh, my
hmm
God." Like
So
that's terrifying.
love it.
Definitely knocked that one out of the ballpark for sure.
But
Well, my number five is one that you've covered already, Isaiah. Yeah, this is my favorite. Now, let me keep in mind, this is my favorite cover art from the Give Yourself Goosebumps books. Like, favorite cover art, but it doesn't mean it's my favorite camp book. Escape from Camp Run for Your Life. Escape from Camp Running Leaf. Let's just call it that. And we got another uncle in this one, Uncle Ed, not Uncle
yeah,
Al. So, you know, we're keeping in the theme of uncles here. Yeah, you already pretty much covered this one, but yeah, no, yeah, you basically have the two paths that you choose. You know, obviously you got the zombies, but I mean, if I was choosing the path, I would choose the zombies, obviously. 'Cause, I mean, I just love zombie movies. I think that's why this one is kind of middle for me though, is because I love zombie films and shows and stuff. So, you know, I think that's why this one does kind of fall in the middle for me. Like, I have to give it some credit for that, because I do love that aesthetic. And yeah, like this book does feel kind of like a roller coaster as well. Like, well, then again, all the Give Yourself Goosebumps books do when you, depending on what path you choose, like go to this page to whatever. So, yeah, I would say for number five, I would have Escape from Camp Running Leaf, which actually, interesting enough, the original title, and the only reason I know this for this book is because on the from Mark, he sent me obviously one of the original sketches for it. It has Escape from Camp Nowhere on it. So that was the original title. Interesting. So I just thought, little fun fact about that book, I'll just throw out there.
well, funny
Originally,
enough,
it was
Camp
Camp
Nowhere is the name of a Nightmare Rune book. So
Yeah, it's almost like it came late. Yeah, like Stein repurposed it into a Nightmare Room book.
Which
But
seems
yeah, no,
to be what he does with a lot of things, as we've learned on this podcast. Now that we think about it,
yeah, he repurposes a lot of stories later, you know. So yeah, no, but this book is definitely, you know, pretty much in the middle for me of the camp books. It has to be because I do like it, you know, and I love the cover and everything. I you know, and again, it feels like a bit of a roller coaster So I like it. I like zombies. Attack me zombies.
Awesome. Nick, what
What do
about
you got?
you?
5.
Same
Well,
thing?
funny enough, that is also mine. So, yeah, not much else to say about that one. That's kind of where we go when we get these lists, and they're obviously a set book, so you're not exploring our top favorite, 10 of a 62 run or the Series 2000. They're all the same books we have to look at and, objectively put into a list together. And we're going to run into things like this where we pretty much know what the bottom half are going to be for us because we're all pretty like-minded Goosebumps readers, it seems, compared to all of our lists. So, not surprisingly, Camp Run for Your Life.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, Running Leaf, as it was in the book, which is ridiculous. What was it was a sports camp.
It's a sports one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It was
Camp
supposed to be.
Running.
It was supposed to be Camp Pendleton or Camp,
Yeah,
whatever it was.
it was basically like a sports camp. So
Yeah, it was supposed to be like a sports camp thing, and I was just like, nah. I mean, I like sports when I was younger, but I mean, I never really. I didn't want to read about them, so I was like, nah. I was like, if it could have just been like a typical summer camp, yeah, all right. I don't know. It was okay.
There's
Again, I
always
love the
sports
cover.
at summer camp, even if it's not a
Kind
sport
of.
themed. Baseball.
Kind of.
There's always baseball.
there are better give yourself
Well,
goosebumps books though. Like
there are, admittedly, yeah, they're better ones. Although, like I said, I love this cover, um, and I didn't hate the sport aspect to it. It was just not something I expected. Like I remember going to camp when I was younger, but I was going for like all the really cool like other activities that you do there, because they had hiking and you had obviously archery is a sport, but when you think sport, like Bjorn said, you kind of think baseball or you know whatever, and it's even like heavyweights. They had that sports camp across the way.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a Camp Hope though. I didn't want to go to that shitty sports camp across the way. I want to be a Camp Hope. So I mean, I don't know, different strokes for different folks, but just not my cup of tea. As far as the story goes, it was okay. Um, I do think it's interesting though that, and it's been so long until you guys were talking about it, though that an actual story you die in some of these books. And I think that's what Series 2000 I think really struck a chord with me so much because obviously I was growing up. That was the whole point in Series 2000 was to be a little edgier. And that's why I love Headless Halloween so much. There was no twist. That ending was just dark, and it was like, holy shit. I loved it.
sometimes you don't get happy endings, you get very unhappy endings.
Sometimes you don't. That one though, I felt was just, but it was still dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't mind this one. I do like it, I think, better than the other ones, even though it's a give yourself. So you have multiple options to go off of. Maybe that's what some of those other books needed. Was a different ending that to go off of that might have been better than
The one that
the one
you
you got
got.
stuck with.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah.
I agree.
Who knows?
that's all.
I like it.
Well,
Stop
now
that
we're
one.
halfway through our rankings, and of course, we got through the non-OG 62. Now we're in the front half, and these are usually considered to be like the really, really good ones. So it made it kind of difficult to rank them. With the other ones, it was a little easier to put them together. So now we're going in with got to arbitrarily rank them. So I must preface, I love all four of these books. I think they're all great. But coming in at number 4, Bjorn, I'm sorry, it's going to be Horror at Camp Jellyjam. Now, I think this book is really, really good, but there's two things about it. I think the first third is kind of slow before it starts getting, like, picking up and start getting good. And while I like the third act, especially when you get to the reveal of King Jellyjam, I think it kind of has a weak climax. I feel like even though it's funny the way that they defeat him, where they just kind of he dies by smelling himself. I think overall it's a little kind of anticlimactic. because it's just like, oh, why didn't they do that before? You
Oh,
literally just stop and you just fall to the ground and that's it. So it's just kind of like there. It was just kind of like, oh shit, we won. Okay, cool. Everyone's happy again, I guess. But I do like the cult vibes of this one, and more than the other ones, it just kind of seems like there's something really, really off about this camp and the counselors, and it has a great message about winning's not always the best thing. It's just about having that camaraderie.
Just most of the time it is.
Most of the time. Well, if your life depends on it, then yeah, it does. But it is scary for a kid, that you have to be the best, otherwise, something will happen. And even then, the kids who get the best get sent away to a pretty shitty
only
fate.
the best.
So,
Only the best.
it's a pretty good concept. I think overall, it's very good at building suspense. It has some of that wacky Goosebumps charm in it. It ranks number 4, but even then, it's a pretty damn good book. So it's definitely a cult classic, I'm learning. I think a lot of people at first didn't really like this book. A lot of people are warming up to it in recent years. So for me, Camp
I think that one
Jellyjam
was
is my
slept on for a long time
hmm Bjorn,
because
what
it
do you
got outshined by some more popular books that became even 90s episodes. So I kind of feel like it just got slept on.
It's
But
probably also just like
you
the
know,
name.
it's gaining popularity because of Bjorn. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Green Rant had it as their favorite Goosebump book. Literally, I couldn't believe it. I was like, whoa. They had like Night of the Living Dummy as like 8th. And I was like, well, okay.
Interesting.
We got Jellyjam number 1.
Bjorn, what do you got?
Well, again, this is hard because they're all good. Like all of them. Um, you know what? I don't even know what to put as 4, to be honest. I'm not pre-planned here with 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, 1, 2, 3, I have actually, I would say, pretty much locked in. But then, no, then again, 3 or 4, I don't really have locked in because it could go either way for 3 or 4. Could go
If you
either
had
way.
to, if I were to squeeze your arm right now, which one would you choose?
Um,
Pinch, 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 pinch.
I'm gonna have Camp Cold Lake as 4. Oh God, hang on. Yeah, I'm gonna say Camp Cold Lake has to be at 4. I'm gonna say because I only have the first 4 here. So yeah, I'm gonna say. Oh God, I'm afraid what I'm gonna say about the book.
We're
Oh
all.
God.
It's all right, dude. I've heard people.
We're all
Honestly,
judging
I've
you,
heard people
so
say that Camp Cold Lake's kind of meh. So, again, it's your opinion, man.
It's funny. I recently actually started reading this again, and because I was actually at the hospital recently with not I wasn't at the hospital because something wrong with me, but I was welcoming a new family member with the partner. So yeah, it was like there was a little mini library there, and the book was just sitting on top. So I like picked it up and just started reading it because I had to stay out of the room for a bit. And yeah, no, like this book is. I must admit, it's downright creepy. But I think all the camp books pretty much are. I still think Sarah's a bit of an idiot for pretending to drown, but
Hmm.
but and then obviously what she discovers is that there's a ghost and everything. But I don't know. They're all kind of like, well, 2 of them are ghost stories, and the other 2 are obviously one focuses more on the supernatural, one's obviously a cult, which I like the most because I like that aesthetic in anything, films, TV. Um, but yeah, like I don't know. I'm just gonna put it at 4, and I don't really want to
Call it a day.
kind of too much. Yeah, because like I don't want to upset too many people because, like you said, it's a meh book. But then again, I do know that there's a lot of people that love this book as well. So, but I have to put it at 4 because the other 3 just they really have my heart. You know what I
No,
mean?
that's totally
Like
fine.
they really
that's
got
fair.
my soul, my soul.
Nick, what do you
But
got?
yeah, I do like the idea of it. I think it's a creepy story in it all, and but yeah, I don't know. Like
It was
I like
niche.
ghost stories. I like the fact that it does focus on a ghost story, kind of like Ghost Camp as well. And I like it that it deals with like drowning and stalking and things like that. But I yeah, it's at four. It's in my is it in my top 10 Goosebump books? No, but it's in my top 20, top 15, 20. It's in there. It's
Awesome.
up there. It's up there.
Well, Nick, what do you got for number 4?
Well, I mean, I kind of gotta agree with you, Isaiah. That my number 4 is actually Horror Camp Jellyjam. Uh, it's not a bad story. I do think that the introduction of King Jellyjam being so short-lived was kind of the downfall for that story for me. If they would have just stuck with Buddy, maybe, or you know, uh, kind of alluded and did some different things at the end with Jelly Jam, it wouldn't have been as bad. But it's really just that the ending of that puts it at number 4 for me. That's really it. Because I enjoyed the rest of the book.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is a good book.
Yeah, it is a good book.
Other than that, so I mean, it just for me when I look at these and I rate, and I was thinking about these books that we're going to rank today. I was like, I mean, I love Ghost Camp, but there's something about that too that I'll bring up when I get to that one that almost made it into a lower spot than it's in. But yeah, no, I think I'm going to stick with that one though. I think Jelly Jam.
Well, all right. Well, moving on to my number 3, I have Curse of Camp Cold Lake. Now, again, this is a really good book. I think this is really good, underrated, certainly. But again, there are a few things that keep it from being my absolute favorite. I do think some of the bunkmates are a little too mean. Some of the supporting characters, they make them a little too unlikable. I know that's the point, but sometimes you never really want to hate a character so much to a point where it's like you're annoyed at their actions. But I do, and I mostly think the first half of the book is a little bit boring. Like, I feel like they spend a lot of time building things up. By the time you get to the second half, things really start picking up. It really starts getting creepy and scary and that sort of thing. I do like that this is sort of a ghost story, but also like a stalker story. Being stalked, I mean, creepy camp aside, being stalked
That's what I
by
liked about it. The
exactly, but it's
stalking,
like being stalked by a
drowning aspect
ghost.
of it, I thought was cool. Like in Goosebumps, I thought that was a pretty interesting thing. But
Mhm.
Oh, and the
uh,
the added thing about not only being stalked, but also your stalker essentially wants to kill you so that you can be together forever is a very, very creepy concept. So this is definitely one of the creepier Goosebumps books. I think it takes a little bit too long to get going in the first half, but it's definitely an underrated book. And again, very hard to arbitrarily rank these 4 because I think they're all good. But I do think that Curse of Camp Cold Lake is my number 3. I think it's a really underrated one, and that's where it lands for that.
cool.
All right, Bjorn.
Number 3. Now here's where things get interesting because this is my favorite Goosebumps episode ever. Like my all-time favorite Goosebumps episode. I love it so much. It's so well done. It just has everything. But like out of the 3 that I've got as my top 3, it's my third, and that's
Strained Peas isn't a camp story. I'm sorry.
it's Camp Nightmare. I love this book. It's in my. Let's put it this way. Another thing that I'll throw out. It's not only my favorite Goosebumps episode. It's in my top 10 favorite books of Goosebumps of all time.
Mhm.
Like it's such a great story. You got your Uncle Al, you got your Billy, you got your Larry, you got just. I love the psychological mind that this book has. You know what I mean? Like I remember the first time I read it, and I remember thinking like, this is completely different to any other Goosebumps story. Do you know what I mean? It really like gets you thinking. It's kind of like Silence of the Lambs. It's a psychological thriller. I don't even see this book as like a spooky horror book, really. This one's more psychological thriller almost, and the episode really plays on that. You do have your monster. You got Saber. He's roaming around. And I think I feel like Stein almost like just threw him in so there's a monster. But this book, it just delves more into like, yeah, like it gets into your head and like you really have to think about a lot of things as you're reading it. Like I remember the first time I actually read it, I had to like go back and reread some parts because I was like, wait a minute, I'm trying to make sense of this. Like, this doesn't seem like they're on freaking planet Earth right now. You know what I mean? Like this feels like they're in some weird like laboratory or some like, you know, that's how it felt. And I remember having to go back and like reread sections to be like, this is so weird. Like this just doesn't feel like a normal Goosebump book to me. And I think the episode did such a great job as well. But then again, the first season did, you know, like I feel like they really did a great job.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I won't touch too much on it because I know you guys are going to have it up really high on your list. So I just wanted to sort of throw the little things out. Like for me, I reckon it's like out of all the Goosebump books that Stein's written, it's the best psychological thriller. If that makes sense.
Oh, no, it does
And
make sense.
I
agree.
That's funny
It's not
that you
what's
say
written on
that
the list.
because, you know, we've talked about that before, but like he never really did a lot of those. He never
Not
really
really.
did a lot of psychological thriller for Goosebumps. I mean,
And it's that.
I'm kind of surprised now that we're kind of saying it out loud, like he hadn't done more like that.
I mean,
Yeah.
Maybe that's just something not typically in his wheelhouse, but
I mean, I could think
I
of
can't really
this
think of
one
another one
and
offhand.
this one, and I live in your basement. Like, those are definitely among them. I
There's a
would have to go
couple,
back
yeah.
and look, but I'm sure there's
This
probably a
one's just-
few
I always
others.
think more body horror when I think of I Live in Your Basement than I do as a
I
psychological
would even say
thriller.
like Cuckoo Clock is kind of like that too. Even though that deals with time travel,
Yeah.
it's a lot of like existentialism because you're mentally the same, but you're aging backwards. So like that one's kind of like, you know,
This one was just handled so well. Like reading the book from start to finish. The fact that I had to go back and reread certain parts just to
it's
try
a
and make
very
sense of
tightly
things,
written book.
like made it so special. You know, it made the book so amazing. And yeah, it's number 3. I think I had it as like my 7th favorite Goosebump book, like ever. So it's not only in my top 3 of the camp books, it's in my top 10 books because I have 3 of the camp books in my top like 7, 8. You know what I mean? So it's super high on my list, and it's my favorite episode because I just love the way it was done. And like, it's not cringy. I don't find the episode cringy at all. I find it very like just well handled. You know, I think every actor just plays their part really well. And yeah, I think the only part that was cringy was maybe the sinking of the boat when they go under the. I think maybe that's the one part that I was like, eh. But other than that, I think it's just a really well done story.
I think as far as an episode goes, that it fit almost into the realm of Are You Afraid of the Dark almost.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of feel like that story could have been put into there, and if they just put a little bit of more of a darker tone throughout. But obviously, you have more daylight scenes in Goosebumps than you do nighttime scenes in a lot of episodes. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Obviously, mostly nighttime stuff. But the stuff they did at night, though, for Camp Nightmare made me think, you know, when you see them like running from Saber, you know, and all this other stuff, like it gives that like almost Are You Afraid of the Dark vibes. So it was a pretty well done episode and a pretty well written book. So I can see why that would be
ticks the
on anybody's top, you know, 10 favorite all time books for Goosebumps.
Yeah, it's so great. It's in my top 10, 100%.
This is where it got tough. I really don't know. Like I love the stories for these top ones. Think I'm gonna say Curse of Camp Cold Lake. It was a toss up between that and my next one, but I think my next one was going to be Curse of Camp Cold Lake. Yeah, again, a great story, but I do agree. As I was thinking about it, as you were talking about Isaiah, it's a little bit slower in the beginning than some of the others, and
Reread.
I think that's okay for this particular story because it's more of a build because you have the relationship between the main protagonist and the ghost. I can't really say that's the antagonist really because she's just trying to break the curse. So it's kind of like I think you kind of need that a little bit. I mean, I think obviously you could cut some stuff out, but given that it's not like they're chapter books, it's not like they're super long anyway. It's not like you're reading, you know, Da Vinci Code or some shit where it's monster book. So I think it's okay. Maybe pacing is Stein's issue with this one a little bit. That's why it feels a little slower. But I mean, that's it really it. I mean, I didn't hate the ending. I'm trying to remember everything about the ending. It's been a while since I read this one, but this one I think wasn't it kind of like open ended a little bit, or was it
More
actually
just like
to actual?
It was more just like the person that
Where
you didn't think was like had the same goals was revealed to also,
Yeah.
right?
it was kind of like
It's a
someone
slower
else.
book.
Yeah.
It's a slower book, and I discovered this literally 2 weeks ago when I started reading it at the hospital. I was reading it and I'm like, oh my God, this is so slow. I wouldn't say Night of the Living Dummy slow, like the first Night of the Living Dummy. That just took way too long to go off to the races. But this, yeah, it was a slow start. But it does eventually pick up, obviously,
Yeah.
but it takes time. It takes time. Some Goosebumps books do, but then you got books like Beast from the East. It's just like off to the races. We're on a roller coaster ride straight away, which is why I like Beast from the East, because I know it's not the greatest story, but because it is like straight into it, we're in a freaking race of tag, and it's just
pacing.
like whoa.
Good pacing to a book's very important. Yeah, I mean, even Stephen King in some of his stuff rolls on. Just you're like, goddamn, dude, just get on with it. Like, move on. Like,
Yeah,
that's why some of his books are so thick, but they really could be probably about cut in half.
it's
Yeah,
I love
that's what I was thinking of too.
God damn, there are some.
That was what I was thinking of too. I'm pretty sure he was on acid or something while he was writing that one, though. So,
because there are so
he
many
had to
chapters
be.
in that book that you could just pull out.
So
Like,
many,
don't need these chapters in here. Like,
so many chapters.
That's a thing with Stephen King, unfortunately, but he's got his
But
charm.
we still love him, and he's a great author. So
Yeah, no, for sure.
he's created some of the greatest horror stories like ever. So yeah.
Well, moving on to my number 2, I got Ghost Camp. Now, Ghost Camp is usually considered to be one of the scariest Goosebumps books. It's definitely one that has a lot of, as I said, with Return to Ghost Camp, sort of like pretty shocking ways that they pull pranks, like bodily harm sort of thing. And that's definitely in this one too. I feel like it's a little more tragic because the whole camp is full of ghosts that just kind of mysteriously died. So it just kind of feels like you're stuck in like just this really, really creepy situation where everyone around you is just kind of like mutilating themselves because they can. I feel like this one takes the supernatural element of creepy camp stories to the best level. Obviously, my number 1 will be sort of the opposite. We've already kind of talked about it, but in terms of supernatural aspects in a camp setting, I think this is definitely the best of them. Because it's creepy. It really is like one of the creepiest, scariest Goosebumps books. This is one I don't think really has any pacing issues. I felt it was pretty tight from beginning to end, and the protagonists are very likable, but probably some of the most likable Goosebumps protagonists. Certainly one of the most likable sibling protagonists. Usually in Goosebumps, most siblings are super, super rude to each other. But these ones actually like kind of get along pretty well. So overall, pretty likable. I think this is another one that's severely slept on, and I think more people need to seek this one out and have a read for themselves. The only reason it's not my number 1 is just because I think my number 1 is just a really, really good story overall, and I think it's just does it a little bit better. But Ghost Camp is very close to my number 1, but it lands at number 2 for me.
I love how it says, like, on the back, the jokes start to get really serious, really creepy, really scary. And I'm like, fucking oath. Like, yeah. This book is the greatest ghost story in Goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally what I have to say. I think this is the best ghost story in Goosebumps. And Stein hits a home run with this book. God, I hope this was not a ghostwriter, because we've talked about that. A lot of Goosebumps books are ghostwriters. Please tell me this was his work, because he did a fantastic job. The one part in this book where I was super genuinely creeped out was when they wake up, like when they would wake up in the morning and they see the puddles, like the little blue like
Mm.
puddles outside their beds. I was just like, oh man, that is just downright creepy.
Hmm.
And I love, yeah, I love, obviously, I mean, we've talked about how it's just like, fog and wind, and that's obviously what, with the kids and being killed and everything. But yeah, it's like Isaiah's touched on, it's a really scary book. There's some brutal moments. I would say next to Welcome to Dead House, this is like one of the most brutal, like gory-ish Goosebumps stories. Um, but yeah, no, I think this book, like we said, it was slept on for so long, but Goosebumps fans, they know now this book is up there. Like they've reread it and they know this book is one of the greatest. It's one of the grails. Um, and yeah, I can see why they probably never turned this one into a TV episode, because they probably thought, how are we going to do this? Like I feel like this one would have been very difficult to do back in the day. Um, but yeah,
Unless
no,
they went the route kind of like they were going to do with uh, the George Romero film for Welcome to Dead House. I mean, if they were going to go that route, I mean, I could totally be behind that.
they could have done a Ghost Camp movie as well. Like they could have done like a trilogy of films. Like they could have done like Welcome to Dead House and Ghost Camp and whatever else they decided. But yeah, no, my review of this book is it's the best ghost story in Goosebumps.
Hmm.
It is the best ghost story in Goosebumps. That is like the most honest review I can give it, and a lot of people will back that. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's very well done.
Yep.
Good on you, Stein. You creeped me out with that one as a kid. I just wish, and I'm surprised this is one of the few books that hasn't had like a re-release. Because obviously we've
Yeah.
had so many
I
reissue
wonder if
books,
it's
and
just
like,
because of the
how has this
tone.
one not had a re-release? Like, you know,
I wonder if it's just because of the tone of the book that it hasn't gotten that re-release.
with
I mean, I
kids
could be
today,
wrong. Obviously,
yeah,
Dead House got a re-release, right? So, I mean, I could be
yeah.
wrong. Maybe it's just not as popular as the ones they did do re-releases for, but
Yeah.
it should be.
I feel like eventually they'll do it though, like because they seem to eventually just be doing them all. Like we are getting them slowly. I feel like one day we have to get a Ghost Camp, or maybe if it's one that gets added into the new Disney Plus series, they do Ghost Camp as one of the five stories that they normally do. Maybe that's when we might see it. But yeah, it's just oh man, it's such a good one. It's great.
And then Nick, what do you got for number two? I'm assuming it might possibly.
This one will surprise you, actually. I'm kind of going against the grain here for most people, because we're talking camp stories, and I love ghost stories. My number two actually is Welcome to Camp Nightmare. It's not number one like many people probably thought it was going to be. I love Welcome to Camp Nightmare for all the reasons we all know. Everybody does. The episode and the book. Both were phenomenal. And Uncle Al is my favorite of all the uncles. Doesn't matter if it's Uncle Marv, Uncle Ed, Uncle
Better than
whoever.
Uncle Ed.
Yeah, it's Uncle Al is the uncle for me. Um, but it's funny. I like as we were going through all these camp stories, I'm like, man, Stein really likes to put uncle characters. He really likes to use the same kid names in a lot of his books, or the same names, not even just for kids, like Sarah or Harry or whatever. Harry, Larry, whatever. But
Harry, Larry,
there's so many like he just reuses the same kind of stuff, and this is another prime example of the ending for Ghost Camp and Camp Nightmare. The endings are similar in the sense that if I remember the ending for Ghost Camp was the counselors were ghosts. It's like a training camp, right? That's like wasn't that the whole concept of the twist ending? Well, Camp Nightmare, what was that? It was a training camp. Turned out to be a government training camp.
You're not wrong.
So it's like
they're just different types of training
it's not
camps.
ghosts, it's aliens. He swapped them out, ghosts and aliens. So
Yeah.
to me, the top two swappable just became preference. So Camp Nightmare is my number two, actually. just for the fact that I like the ghost story in Ghost Camp a lot more, just because it was pretty dark.
Well,
Um,
yeah, really well done.
I remember that being like one of his best works when I was younger, reading some of those Goosebumps books.
You could say it's the most
Making me wish
underrated Goosebump book.
great books like
Like one of the most underrated Goosebump books, you could say, because it's like it hasn't had a
that.
re-release. You know, it was never made into a TV episode, but it exists. It's there.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? That's how it feels when with that book. And I've seen a lot of people's top tens over the last like 5 years, and that book is always in there. Like they're like, oh yes, this book is this and this and this,
yeah.
and then they always make those points where I'm like, yeah, I agree. Like it's such an underrated book. You know, it's great. I love Ghost Camp. I
Well,
agree.
moving on to my number one, am going with the grain and putting Welcome to Camp Nightmare. So the reason I like this more than Ghost Camp is because as much as I love Ghost Camp, and trust me, like they're essentially neck and neck, but I like Welcome to Camp Nightmare because of the psychological aspect. I think Billy is probably the best Goosebumps protagonist because he is just such, a noble young person. He goes through a lot of trials and tribulations in this book. There's not a lot of supernatural stuff, but it's very much like a scary situation for a kid if your friends are disappearing after snake bites or drowning or something like that, and then everybody just starts saying like you're crazy, like they don't exist. What are you talking about? As a kid, essentially feeling like you're all alone. Um, you know what you saw, but everyone's telling you, it's not real or anything like that. It's a pretty scary situation, and I think Stein does psychological stuff really well because a lot of the best Goosebumps books are ones that deal with, you know, dealing with sort of like the psychological horrors that you come across. I think this one is really good. I think
Yeah.
Billy's a great protagonist. I think the ending is definitely one of the most iconic Goosebumps twist endings. And I just think it's an overall like really gripping story from beginning to end. This is another one where I feel like there's no issues with the pacing. It's pretty
Almost like
engaging from beginning
yeah.
to end.
You're actually right, like the psychological thing. It's like we've talked about this too. Like Living Dummy 2 is similar. Like Amy feels alone, because Slappy's like psychologically messing with her, and making her feel like she's alone, and I think that's why that's our favorite dummy
As a
book. And
kid,
then Camp Nightmare, yeah.
as a kid, you
One of the
feel like
reasons.
sometimes you're looked down upon by, people who are older than you, whether it be your parents or like other relatives or just grown-ups in general. So to have a story that sort
Counselors.
of taps into that, where you as the kid need to brave sort of the dangers of the world around you, not only is a very real fear that kids have, but when a character can successfully do so, it can be sort of like an empowering thing. I think this is definitely one of the Goosebumps stories where the protagonist really does like fight through the scary situations. And fortunately for him, there's no bad ending to any of this. He finds out it was like a training camp, and but through his courageous nature, he proved that he was ready to go to Earth and invade. It's a great twist ending.
Yeah,
I love the
he's
ending of this
ready.
book. I think it's iconic for a reason.
He
It was
thinks
the
that,
first. Um,
but
so it didn't have a chance to really retread a lot of waters. I feel like a lot of the ones in my bottom half retread a lot of what this book did. So it has the advantage of being the first. I think it's the best written of all of them, and I think it definitely deserves to be up there as one of the best Goosebumps books. So Welcome to Camp Nightmare
It is.
is my number one for best camp book.
No, I agree. It's in my top 10 books of all time. It's so good.
But I think I
And
know what
so,
your number one is, though.
by
you
default,
know what's
we
crazy
knew
about it?
anyway. The shirt wasn't a giveaway.
This this book is my number one for a lot of reasons, but also my favorite chapters of Goosebumps to read in this book, of any Goosebump book, is in this book. And it's literally it's the moment that Wendy is trying to find, obviously, her brother. And she's basically having to like sneak through like the camp past the counselors. And the way the what it reminds me of is like, do you remember playing like the Harry Potter games on the PS2 where you would have to like sneak past the like what are they called? The you've got like the head boy, they call it in the movie, and you basically have to sneak past like the counselors at night as Harry, and if they catch you, they like put a spell on you and they grab you and they say, "What are you doing out of bed? You shouldn't be doing that." There was something about those elements in games,
Abracadabra.
like Abracadabra, like
getting out of bed, you're dead.
like literally like they use like Crucio's spell on them or something. But yeah, like those scenes, moments in any film, show, book are my favorites. And when Wendy is having to like find her brother Elliot and she's sneaking past them, and the counselors just keep walking past, and the way they look around like with their creepy express. When I read those like two chapters of the book, that is genuinely the most like on edge I am reading a Goosebumps story, that I have been on edge of any book I've read in Goosebumps. It has my heart. And I will give my reason for that being my favorite book is simply those few little chapters of when she has to do that. And I'm literally sitting there like, oh my God, like this is creepy. Like she's hiding. But then again, they do it in a lot of Goosebumps stories where they're hiding behind a bush and there's someone there. But I think the way Stein wrote it in this book is just so good. And I just love it that much. And yeah, like King Jellyjam, he's a short-lived monster. Sure. He's short-lived. He just smells really bad. So the kids literally, so yeah, like literally there's a cult and these kids have to like, they think they're winning these coins and they're going to go on this march and they're going to be like these heroes and everyone's going to love them and worship them. But really, it's all just bogus because the counselors are all just, you know, hypnotized by this giant monster and they have to go and clean them. And if they don't, they get eaten. I wish we saw a kid get eaten. That's the one thing that would have made the book a little better, I'm sure, for you guys. If one of the kids actually did get eaten, then you'd be like, holy shit.
Moved it up the rank a little bit for me.
Yeah.
That just happened? Like, but I think the fact that we don't see a kid get eaten or read it, maybe that was a letdown of the book. I would have loved to have seen that too, sure. But it's the visuals are there, like how they see the kids' clothes like on the side there, like their shoes and stuff. So you know they've been eaten, but they just don't. Obviously, there's not a scene of him literally picking someone up.
It's a Pennywise sewer scene. You see all the
like, it's kind of
stuff
like,
from kids that he's eaten, but you don't see the bodies.
yeah, they kind of elaborate on that, so you know it's happened, but you don't see the bodies. And I think that was a really dark element too of the book. It's kind of like in Pan's Labyrinth, where like she has to basically there's that creature Paleface, and you see the pile of kids' clothes like just stacked there, and you see the really creepy images of him like just holding them up and just full on like gobbling them up while they're alive. It's just creepy, you know. And I think that also was kind of messed up that they had that in the book, but literally just those couple stealthy scenes in this book I just think is really well done, and it just genuinely made me on edge when reading. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, she's going to get caught. She's going to get caught. You know what I mean? And the way he just kind of wrote it, I think was really well done. And no other Goosebump book had me like that, like really on edge. Like there's moments in other books, but that had me the most just like, holy crap. You know what I mean? And I felt really genuinely terrified reading those like little parts. So yeah, no, that book has my heart for a lot of reasons. And yeah, I don't know. It's also like I read it as a kid as well. You know how like the ones we read as a kid and with nostalgia grown up?
Mhm.
That's another factor that plays there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would have been hard to make an episode of this back in the 90s. I can see why it didn't happen. I don't know how they would have done Jellyjam. Look what happened with the Blob. It was like maybe they were deciding, do we do the Blob that ate everyone or do we do Jellyjam? It's almost like they could have gone either way with what book they would have done. And they were like, the creature would have looked bad regardless. So I'm kind of glad they did the Blob. It didn't leave Jellyjam with a sour taste. I don't know. So I feel like that could have been a toss-up which one they chose.
Jellyjam on toast.
Yeah. And I must admit, the ending's a little bit but it's not so much the ending for me. It's a lot of other things that I just
Reed
love.
getting there.
Nah.
Yeah.
That's where some of those other ones landed for me too. So
It's fine enough.
I get you.
But
Yeah.
Nick, what's your number one? I mean, we already know process of elimination.
I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, process of elimination tells you it's Ghost Camp. I really enjoyed that book. Even the ending, like I said, even though the endings are similar to other stories, um, it's still to me the Reed getting there, kind of creepily getting there, like the injuries that occurred to these campers through their trials, and then finding out that it's just like a ghost training camp. In the the counselors and stuff, like it's like the head ghost guy who's supposed to be prepping all these new recruits. So I mean, it was an interesting concept and story, and even though, like I said, we kind of got something similar in other books, the way this one was executed, and the characters I think were pretty well written too, which really helped. Much like Welcome to Camp Nightmare, which is why I said it's like really between the two, I could probably flip flop one and two on any given day. They're just both that good. So, but nothing we can really say about Ghost Camp that we haven't said already. But those are just my 2 cents on why I like that, and I think that's probably the best camp story in my opinion. Because when you think camp stories, you always like ghost stories around a fire. So when it combines the two, you kind of get that perfect mesh as long as the story's good. And thankfully, in this case, it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was really well done. You know what it is? I feel like it's one of the few Goosebump books, if not the only, where there was just no bullshit. No bullshit. It's just, this is it.
That's true.
No, it was.
You're gonna get it all. You're gonna get it all. That's how I felt reading that book.
The thing about all these camp books is that even the worst, quote unquote worst ones have some kind of value there. I think that I don't know what it is about Stein and camp books, but I think the very setting for horror with a camp, because you're out in the middle of the woods, separated from society, you're on your own, and you never know what could be behind a tree or like whatever like that. It's just an inherently creepy setting for, whether it's a ghost story or a monster story or something like that. So it's very interesting to see where it goes, and some do it better than others, but that's the thing. Even again, these top four, any of them could be the best. Like I feel like all three of us probably had some some trouble putting like certain ones where, but it's very interesting because I actually going in, like I said, I thought we were gonna have the same number one, but turns out no. And that's always, again, the most interesting thing is just to see like, other people's opinions of these books, because some people may like them, some people may not. I think the camp books do creepy pretty well. I think Camp Nightmare, Ghost Camp, Camp Cold Lake, Jellyjam, whatever flaws they may have, are overshadowed by the good writing, the good suspense, the good, spooky nature of it all. And, now we have a new camp book that will be coming out pretty soon, One Night at Camp Bigfoot, for the new House of Shivers series. So who knows how that
I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah,
that's one thing I noticed too. Like again, similarities with Stein's writing is I'm glad this one wasn't Camp Moon something or something Moon. I noticed he likes to make a lot of his camps with the moon in the title.
Yeah.
Not sure why, but I mean, I have noticed that too. Like I said, just a few little things that he has a little affinity for, I guess. He likes his Spirit Moon, Night Moon, whatever, so many other moons.
From Return to Ghost Camp.
Full moon.
No, Stein likes his camps, and I'm very interested to see what this new Camp Bigfoot one is, because it looks to be different than some of the other ones involving ghosts and whatnot. So hopefully it's on the same level of something like Camp Nightmare and Ghost Camp, but only time will tell. So
that's the best camp book anyway.
The
Frightlight edition.
Yeah,
it's
you
the
get
best
yourself
camp
a Frightlight edition, you get yourself a Campfire collection. But the great thing about these camp books is that they're perfect for when you want to crack open Goosebumps book, whether they're at camp or not. I remember, going to camps and bringing Goosebumps books. So, it's the beginning of summer. You got 3 whole months of summer weather. So live it up with a Goosebumps book, and maybe you'll want to take a crack at some of the ones we talked about today. So You know?
One of the greatest things about being a kid, too, is summer break, man. There was no school. You're hanging with your friends. You didn't have to work or nothing. It was just a good time.
It was an event. It was
now,
like
as an adult,
freedom.
Good God.
No, as an adult, it's just kind of like, wow, it's summer already? Yeah. Anyway,
God, it's hot.
Back to work.
Mosquitoes. Back to work.
But
yeah.
Again,
not as fun as an adult.
Again, go back to being a kid by reading a good old Goosebumps book.
Exactly.
So, definitely get out there and enjoy the hot weather. But for now, that is going to do it for tonight's episode of the Goosebumps Crew Podcast. As always, make sure you follow Bjorn and Nick at Goosebumps OxyFan and Sean, respectively. If you like today's episode, make sure you like and comment. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on our audio platforms and social medias. All those links are in the description below. So check them out. We'll have another episode for you next week. But until then, this has been the Goosebumps Crew Podcast. And from all of us here, we want to wish you all, as always, to take care, stay safe, and have a very scary day.